Greg, happy Wednesday to you. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, John.
I am with Gregg Loughman, who is a healthcare executive, thought leader, coach, has had a distinguished career, somebody that we've passed by each other probably 100 times since we're both sitting here in Nashville, but great to be on the phone with you. And so I'll jump in. First question, 2020 being one of the more unique years that's ever been. Tell me a little bit about some of your thoughts on how business is transforming specifically as it relates to healthcare and things that you're proud of in the healthcare community today.
Great question. Yeah, I'd say by about February of this year, businesses that I was working with, and whether it was partners or HealthStream that I was working with at the time, everyone took a big, deep breath, took their strategic plans, the guidance they may have given to Wall Street, and tore it up. And there was a lot of uncertainty and there was a lot of fear. And for myself, who's been in the healthcare market for over 20 years, once you got past really the human toll that COVID took on healthcare workers, on communities, on family members that were impacted by the virus, what I saw was an opportunity for change that is potentially a once in a lifetime opportunity in healthcare. Healthcare is a very, as everyone knows, high risk, high regulated, always on type industry, very similar to finance, energy, aviation. With that comes a lot of resistance to change. And for a part of the American economy that ekes out an average 2% increase in revenue year over year, if you're having a good year, a lot of healthcare operators really are wary of innovation and improvement, because any change applied, if it's disruptive, could put you into a place that you can't dig out of. COVID changed all of that. And so working with healthcare providers and companies in the healthcare space, what I saw was an opportunity for people to take a look at their strategic plans and focus on two words: intentional and integrated. And what I mean by that is, if you are running a business and you're looking at your employees may have been able to tolerate certain business processes and practices for years. Now they have to tolerate those practices and processes while working from home, while trying to manage their children's education or taking care of an elderly loved one and do their job at the same time. And suddenly, every time you're asking someone on your team to focus on something, the question is, are you being intentional? And is this helping your business solve the business problem that your customers need? And it taught us, I think, a discipline about looking at sometimes very broad-based, aggressive strategic plans that had lots of number one focuses within them. Give me your top 60 number one focuses, Mr. CEO or chairman, and saying, how do we pare this down for the benefit of our employees? Well, that was also to the benefit of the customers, because our customers in healthcare did not have the time to commit effort to things that weren't going to solve an immediate pressing crisis in their four walls. And with that intentionality came a willingness to innovate. And so in the space that I've played in for the past 20 years, which has been around healthcare employee education, engagement, patient engagement, and satisfaction, programs that have existed for 5, 10 plus years, and maybe have helped us check the box, in things like accreditation and compliance. Suddenly now, a microscope came down on those things. And our market, our buyers ask the question, what are we really getting from this? And so when you as a leader in business become intentional about how to focus and engage your employees, and your customers become intentional asking you, what are you really giving me for value? That is a perfect opportunity for companies to innovate, become lean, and really drive home a unique value proposition and lead from the front with their market. And so I thought that was probably one of the coolest opportunities that came out of the disruption of COVID. The other one around integration, similar philosophy. You have folks who are integrating within your company, their personal and professional lives on camera, right? I mean, I can't even count how many Zoom calls I had where I got to meet people's children. people who I've worked with for years, and I never got to see those personal sides of them. My background right now, you can see over my shoulder, I must be a music fan. The picture over my right shoulder was a picture I received from a child who was treated at Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. And this was a picture that was drawn for me because I helped their board do some strategic planning. And this child's picture was a gift to remind me I made an impact on children in that healthcare setting. These are things that are really personal to me. And my team and my business partners and my customers started to see an integration of Gregg, the business leader, Gregg, the thought leader, with Gregg, the dad, and Gregg, the husband, and Gregg as someone who cares a lot about giving back to communities and improving community health. So that integration of the human side of the business also started to be reflected in the technology side. And I've worked with companies that have asked themselves, we're really good at launching products every quarter. How do these products actually connect together? Because every time a product doesn't connect, guess what? You are asking your customer to learn something new, work on a new system, and you're taking them away from things that are important. So integration became a focus for the companies that I was working with, not just to improve user experience, to improve their own employees' experience, and to give back more value. And flip side of that, customers were grilling us, how can you provide us one single solution to a problem? Don't make us hunt and peck. You see the crisis we have. In hospitals that we were working with, we saw people move from department to department. They didn't have time to relearn a system that was slightly different because they went from working in a labor and delivery unit to working in the ER. We needed to be more focused on design thinking, put ourselves in our customers' shoes, be intentional on integrating the experiences we were creating for customers. So again, these are things that other verticals outside of healthcare have been doing for years. Healthcare got the push in the small of its back to finally adopt and take some risks that traditionally they push back on.
Thank you. That's amazing. What do you believe will be a long-standing change for the better as we move into 2021?
That's a great question. I think from the standpoint that I'm going to tackle this, which is from the standpoint of patient engagement, employee engagement, and education. I think one of the lessons that we've had here in the past year is simply providing people with information doesn't change behavior. And I think one of the greatest examples of that would be the percentage of Americans wearing masks right now. It's not like you haven't turned on the news or read in your local paper that it's probably a good idea to wear a mask, maybe not to protect yourself because you don't have any comorbidities. Your chances of getting harmed by COVID are quite low, but you could be protecting someone like your neighbor or a friend or a family member that you come in contact with. Passively putting out information doesn't change behavior. And when I think about specifically the healthcare vertical, healthcare relies on education and engagement, not only to keep its employees informed with the leading edge research and techniques to help provide better care, but they also have to keep patients and families informed so that they know how to care for themselves. A lot of that information was disseminated in very traditional didactic ways. Employees got trained by having to sit through hour-long monotonous PowerPoint presentations. Patients and family members got educated by getting pamphlets in a folder at discharge. Now suddenly people are asking themselves, is there a better way to engage folks? And that's through technology. And it's not just by sending an email with some information. The question is, how can we leverage technology to build a two-way continuous relationship with our employees and with our patients?
Gregg, thank you so much. Really appreciate you spending some time with me and the folks that are going to be listening to this. I hope you have a fantastic holiday season.
You too. Best to you and your family.
Thank you.